The MPS Universe on analytics gives you unrestricted access to every single model portfolio on the database, which there are around 1,500 models now managed by around 85 different providers. And users and advisors would generally use that data to run full due diligence across the market before they reach out to the DFM and actually start working with them. If you're trying to design your centralized investment panel, or indeed if you're reviewing your KIP and trying to find maybe new solutions that you can add to that, then that's what the universe is there for, to give you unrestricted access to every single provider so that you can make informed decisions about which ones you want to work with. And then you can use the MPS directory to reach out to that DFM and have those propositions and mandates plugged into your analytics accounts. You can run full-blooded analysis using some of the features on the right-hand side to compare that against what the client has. So this training tip will be to explore the MPS universe and what it offers, but equally to show you the subtle differences between the MPS universe and indeed the MPS directory. So first and foremost, on the left-hand side under the Instruments tab, the MPS universe is the same as any other universe, whether I'm looking for unit trust and OICs, whether I'm looking for investment trusts, equities or ETFs. It is just simply another universe that I can click on and the management groups will pop up. As I said, there's about 80 odd of them. And I can click on any manager I like and all of their model portfolios will appear underneath. I can click on the one I like or what I want and click on add and add that underneath. Now you'll notice every single MPS you add will have a little fact sheet icon beside it. And if you click on the fact sheet, you'll get a load of information, headline information about that model portfolio solution. So you'll get the sector it's part of. These are our sectors, more on those in a few minutes. You've got the benchmark that the model benchmarks themselves against. You've got the fund size or model portfolio size, the AUM of that model and the as at date. You've got the new crown ratings pop up. Again, more on that in a minute. The risk score, the launch date, but also the the AMC, so the DFM charge, and also the OCF as well as clearly the objective of the model portfolio and the biography of the manager and who indeed the manager is and how long they've been managing that solution for. Now, if I click on the performance tab at the very top, I'll get the performance of that model versus its sector, the MPS sector. So these are all of the other MPS solutions that are similar to this one, clustered together in a red line versus what my MPS that I'm looking at here has done. So MPS blue, sector red. There's the performance cumulative discrete. There's the quartile information on each time period. And then there's the difference in the volatility as well, how volatile that solution is against its sector over the last year. MPS don't have dividend data, but they do have a breakdown. The underlying holdings are embargoed, so we can't show you that, but we will show you the sector split, the regional split, and the asset split. And if it's clearly got, like with this one, if it's got an asset allocation of fixed interest, we can show you stuff like credit rating split as well as the growth and defensive split at the very bottom. Now, ultimately, you can click on Summary Fact Sheet PDF at the very top, and that will aggregate it into a nice little one pager, again, giving you all of that headline information, asset allocation, performance, risk, charges, etc., versus the benchmark, neatly packaged into one page. And now I can go to the client and say, look, this is maybe a solution we're recommending you move forward with for X, Y, and Z reasons, or maybe you want to have that within the body of a report, recommendation report. Again, more importantly, branded with your logo at the very top. However, we have provided the infrastructure and the plumbing for providers to provide their own reports. It's kind of taken as a given. When I'm looking at funds, I should be able to get their fact sheet, their KID document, their prospectus, their semi-annual reports, etc. This should be no different with MPS solutions. MPS solutions provide a lot of reports, create a lot of reports. They should be aggregated and made available on solutions such as analytics. So you'll find a lot more of these doing this over time. Invesco actually send us a couple of different types of reports. When you open up the likes of Invesco, you've got provider documents at the very top, and you've got, in this case, provider fact sheet and quarterly manager commentary. And as you'd expect, the provider fact sheet gives you exactly that. It gives you their fact sheet, not ours, branded with their logo. And equally, we allow quarterly manager commentary. We do quarterly manager or market commentary, so both. We allow the surfacing of fact sheets as well, as we've just seen, but equally rebalancing reports as well. So if a model portfolio provider creates a rebalancing report to justify the changes they've just made to a model, we can surface and support those as well. So rather than an advisor having to orchestrate this themselves, particularly if you're working with, as most of you are, kind of 3 DFM partners, and each one of those might have 10, 20, 30 model portfolios you're using, that's a lot of reports that you're having to manage and aggregate yourself. And clearly that's a headache for the DFMs as well, to make sure that the advisors using their solutions have instant access to their marketing material. This is hopefully a really good solution for that, for advisor and the DFM to centralize all of those documents into one place, just as you'd expect with a fund fact sheet and KID document, and for you to be able to access that on the tool that you're using on a daily basis. So that's fact sheets. Also, every single MPS solution that you add also has a little alert icon, which is quite neat. So there's a load of these data fields we're surfacing now. You can get alerted if any of that changes. So this particular MPS was performing really well. So I'd actually like there to be a bit of a tolerance. Every single time that MPS goes up or down by 10% from today's value, let me know about it. Some of the fact sheet data fields I was pointing out, AMC, which is the DFM charge, if that changes, again, let me know. If the fund size goes up or down, if the OCF changes from its current, however many basis points we're charging, click on add and add that across. And also ratings at the moment, very well rated, 5 out of 5, can't get any better, could obviously get worse, and that gets rebalanced every 6 months. So let me know as and when there are changes to any of this. Add that across, other ratings available, of course. And under documents, if they ever provide their fact sheet or a new fact sheet, again, let me know. And I can click on add and add that to my watch list over on the right-hand side. And once added, I can click on save and save as many of those as I like. And then down there's my email address, and I'll be alerted each time one of those are triggered. So analytics will do the heavy lifting for me and alert me as and when those are changed, or any time they do change. I'll come back to the MPS solutions in a minute. I just want to move on to our sectors. That's another edition of our universe. Every single universe has its range of sectors. MPS is no different. So when you go to the sector tab, you get UK MPS. There's all the different sectors. As you can see via their naming convention, they're based on their growth assets. We determine growth to be equities and property. So we're looking at the asset allocation of each solution. We're determining how many growth assets they invest in, and then we're clustering them into their appropriate sector. That said, if the asset allocation changes significantly enough to go outside of these bands, there are rules and logic in place that will move the MPS itself if they remain outside of that band for a set period of time. But on analytics, I can select all of those MPS sectors. They go back quite far in terms of performance, and I can now create, in this case, a very simple 5-year performance graph to look at the difference between them. We're going to come onto the directory in a minute, and I can start adding in the different MPS solutions that I use. I could, if I'm using LGT Vestra balance solution, I could go and grab the balance solution and compare that via the directory against its sector. I'll move on to that in a few seconds. If I go into any one of these sectors, let's just go in the middle one, MPS 45 to 65, you'll see at the very top, there'll be a bit of a description of what the sector is, how many MPS solutions there are, 350 managed by 64 providers, 3 of which have Alpha Manager rated. 55 is the average FE risk score. The best performers and worst performers over 1 year, 3 year, and 5 year, most volatile over 1 year, 3 year, 5 year. Also the fact sheets on each one. You got the performance at the very top as well. So the performance over the last 5 years of that sector, the volatility of that sector, and also the MPS with the highest fund size or MPS size, AUM. And the most important one is members. So who are the 350 members that make up this particular sector? Let's look at their risk score. Let's also look at their FE Crown rating. The Crown rating is no different to our other Crown rating that you'll probably be aware of. It looks at 4 core criteria over the last 3 years: performance, alpha, consistency, and volatility. And obviously now we've got a sector, we can work out who the best and the worst are. Best is 5, worst is 1. And that gets rebalanced again every 6 months. 1 year, 3 year, 5 year performance, volatility, 1 year over 3 year, and the whole 350 solutions on that panel. And then finally breakdown. So sector, asset, and regional split of that entire sector as such. Now, as I said at the very start of this recording, one of the main uses for this will be filtering, to filter out the entire MPS space to try and find the solutions that are most suited for your clients. So if I clear the list again, the other tab at the very top here to focus on is fund filters. And again, MPS Universe is no different to any other universe when it comes to filtering. So when it loads up on the left-hand side, you've got all the filters available. As I said, there's about 1,500 MPS in total. And now I can start filtering. So maybe I want to find funds within that particular sector we were looking at a second ago, 45 and 65. Let's have a look at those 350. On the left-hand side, let's make sure I'm only looking at MPS with 5 crowns. Add that across, make sure they've got some consistency in terms of quartile. So it has to be equal to first quartile, maybe over 1 year, and over 5 year. That will ensure they've got at least a 5-year track record as well. I can also focus on things like yield. I want to make sure it's income generating. Also fund size, make sure the size is of a particular size I'm interested in, maybe small, maybe large, etc. Also want to make sure the OCF is lower or higher than a particular amount. It's kind of exactly the same thing you'd be searching for if you're looking for a decent multi-asset fund or single manager. Make sure the launch date is before or after a set date. And equally, asset allocation. Maybe I'm looking for an MPS that invest X amount in North American equities, for example. Even things like investment focus and investment style. So I could look for MPS solutions that have an ethical, sustainable preference. So looking for ethical solutions, and under investment style, you'll get passive. So lots of things you can filter on, but ultimately, once you're finished, you can click on show results. And when the results load up, you've got all of the reasons why they hit each one of those criteria. And on the left-hand side, again, these little tick box or these little arrows that allow me to ping those back to my main screen to look at those in a bit more detail, like the fact sheets, like the alerting, etc. But more importantly, you've got the ability to PDF this as well. So if the regulator or compliance ever come knocking and ask you why you picked X, Y, and Z solution and how did you research the whole market, well, this is part of that process. I can make sure that's on file to prove what I did to run the analysis each year or each quarter, however often you want to do this. So that's the MPS universe. Now, how does this differ to the MPS directory? So you'll notice when I try and find, I mentioned LGT Vesta earlier. So when I go and find an MPS with someone like LGT, I go and grab, say, their balance solution and click on add, as I did before with ATM and Invesco. On the right-hand side, none of these features will work on anything selected from the universe. So I can't create performance graphs, any of those charts. I can't create any table. It would just say no instrument selected. And equally, I can't create any report off the back of that data either, because that's potentially giving me access to all those underlying holdings that are embargoed. Equally, I can't put it into my risk profiler. I can't push that data into cash calc for cash flow. I can't push that data into advisor asset for platform due diligence and charge comparisons, etc., etc. So if I did want to do that, and I've reached out to LGT because I really like what I see here, I've done my due diligence and I want to work with them and I want to access their model portfolio proposition to start comparing against where clients currently are, to start recommending LGT on a more frequent basis. All I need to do is hit this little button here, and this takes me to the MPS directory. And this is the directory of all of the 85 different providers. They're all alphabetical, so I can scroll down to LGT, click on LGT, and there's a bit of a marketing spiel about who they are, what they've done, what they've won, contact details as well. And there would usually be a big blue button there saying activate me. I obviously don't have that because I'm obviously activated for them already. And it means that when I come back to the main screen, under that portfolio tab, I will have all of their portfolios plumbed in as portfolios. So I can click on add, I can open it up and have a look at all of their underlying holdings and all of the funds that they invest into. But more importantly, I can now go and create content with that. I could perhaps compare that against where my client currently is. That's quite a popular use of analytics. This is where the client currently is, could be anything. And I want to compare that against LGT balanced solution. And the performance on analytics, whether you're looking via the universe or via the directory, will always be net of all charges, net of the fund charge, but equally net of the DFM fee as well, whether it's 15 basis points or 20 basis points, etc. But more importantly, it will also be net of all of the underlying all of the underlying changes that DFM has made, which basically show us little squares on that chart. So you can see every single time LGT has made a change, this comes up with a little square, so you can see how actively they're making changes to their portfolio. And you can see, look, Mr. and Mrs. Client, one of the reasons we want to recommend LGT moving forward is perhaps the risk is the same. It's on point with where you need to be for a risk profile. The charges might be slightly cheaper, and equally they've proven themselves over the last 5 years and the performance is that much better, etc. So I can now spin up all that content because I've accessed that via the directory. Just whilst I'm on the topic, another way of accessing the directory is just to simply select MPS directory on the left. But hopefully that's given you a good overview of what the MPS universe is. It gives you access to all of the MPS solutions. It gives you access to all the fact sheets. It gives you access to a ton of data on each one of those MPS. It gives you access to all the sectors. And equally, it gives you access to filtering all of those solutions and also alerting on them as well. And when you want to run full-blooded analysis, or when you want to put that into a risk profile or throw into cash flow via cash calc or advisor asset, then you can just simply use the directory that then gives you access to all of those underlying holdings and allows you then to spin up content with some of these features on the right-hand side. So again, hope you found that useful. Any further questions, click on Contact Us on the left-hand side and feel free to reach out to our help desk for support. Thanks for watching.